What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to a new special episode of Parking the Bus. If you're watching on video, you got a special treat today because you're getting a double episode on video if you're watching on www.parkingthebusmedia.com, or if you're watching on the YouTube channel or on Facebook, you are getting a double episode. Episodes 34 and 35 in video are going to be one episode. If you're listening to the podcast feed, well, you're going to get two separate episodes. And how we're going to do that is episode 34 is a South American edition. We're going to review last week's Copa Libertadores action and last week's Copa Sudamericana action as well, okay? And then we're going to switch gears and we're going to come north to North America to CONCACAF with a quick stop in Australia. So in episode 35, it'll be a CONCACAF Champions League, Liga MX heavy show with sprinkling in some Major League Soccer and some Australian Hyundai A-League. Welcome. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho, and this is episode 34 to start us off. Again, like I said, we are in South America, and I have a great announcement before we get started. I am working on a project right now, and I'm happy to announce that next week, if you look on the bottom there on the ticker, scrolling down your screen, for those of you watching, next week I will be debuting the first edition of my Parking the Bus South American Club Power Ratings. So I have become a mathematician here, and I've devised a formula for ranking the teams in South America. And I've been crunching numbers. I'm not done, so I can't debut it tonight, but I'm going to be debuting it next week on the next South American edition when we review this week's upcoming matches. I will then at the end of the episode debut the South American Club Power Rankings as my math formula sees them, and we'll see how well they come out. I think it'll be an interesting thing to follow together, and it'll be an interesting thing to see how they pan out, and if the rating system, if the formula actually fits, if it makes sense, or if some team maybe beats the system somehow. So I'm really interested to see how that's going to go. But we're going to get right into it right now. Okay, those of you listening on the podcast, you are hearing Beethoven's Ode to Joy. You ask why? Because that is the anthem of the CONMEBOL Copa Libertadores, and we are going to begin in Group A like we do every week. Okay, and the match day 3 kicked off in Group A on May the 4th. With Defensa y Justicia hosting Palmeiras at the Estadio Norberto Tomajello in Florencio Varela in Argentina. Wilmer Roldan of Colombia was the referee. And we have Defensa y Justicia 1, Palmeiras 2. So we look at that, and let's take a look at the lineups in this one. This is a group we have followed fairly closely, and I'm pulling up these lineups right now. So we'll start with the home side. Defensa y Justicia, the defending winners of the Copa Sudamericana. They have Ezequiel Onsain in goal, and Nestor Breitenbronch, Juan Rodriguez, and Emmanuel Brites. The three in the back in their 3-4-2-1. Four-man midfield, Matias Rodriguez and Nicolas Tripicio, Raul Loaiza, and Marcelo Benitez, and they're playing behind. The attacking trio of Gabriel Haichen, Nahuel Gallardo, and Walter Bow. For the defending Copa Libertadores champions, remember these two teams met in the Recopa Sudamericana not too long ago in a two-legged final, if you will. That was won on penalties by Defensa y Justicia. But for Palmeiras, they have stabilized a bit, and they're playing some great football in this edition of the Copa Libertadores. And in goal, they've got Weverton in their 3-5-2 for manager Abel Ferreira. Three in the back, Luan Garcia, Gustavo Gomez, and Renan Victor. The five in midfield, wide on the right was Marcos Rocha, Rafael Vega, Danilo, and Patrick are the three in the center, with a wide left wing back, if you will, of Victor Luis. Up front, very, very strong, potent attack. Strike pairing of Ronnie and the veteran Luis Adriano. So we get goals in this one from Ronnie. He scores in the 47th and 56th. Defensa y Justicia will pull one back in the 68th from Tripichio, and it would not be enough though for the Argentine side to get back level. And at the end of 90 minutes, the Brazilian side goes to Argentina and takes the 3 points. Uh, Two teams that I enjoy watching, both Palmeiras and Defensa Justicia. And again, this is the third time these two teams have met this season. So they are getting to know each other quite well, and they're going to see each other again one more time in this group stage. And it's really going to be a battle in Group A for that second place. Right now, Palmeiras is out to a comfortable lead. They're perfect 3 victories from 3 matches and starting to distance themselves from the table. But Defensa Justicia will need to pick it up because they are being chased very, very closely by the team that played in the other match. Or I should say, there are 2 teams in the other match here, but it was a resounding victory for the Ecuadorian side, Independiente del Valle. It is Renato Paiva's first win in the group stage as a manager in the Copa Libertadores. It was 4-0 over Peruvian side Universitario in the Estadio Rodrigo Paz Delgado in Quito, Ecuador. The referee was Andres Cunha of Uruguay. And we got goals. We got 2 goals from Sanchez, a goal from Morillo, and another one from Ortiz, which put Independiente del Valle comfortably ahead. Goals came in the 45th, 61st, 73rd, and 85th for a very, very convincing victory for the Ecuadorian side. And they follow that up this past weekend with a huge win in the Ecuadorian League as they beat the perennial powerhouse Liga de Quito this past weekend. And they also just opened a brand new stadium, did Independiente del Valle. And it's that club is growing leaps and bounds. They were the winners of the 2019 edition of the Copa Sudamericana. They really, really want to make a run here in the Copa Libertadores, and they're right there with Defensa y Justicia for second place. Both teams are on 4 points. Universitario, however, the Peruvians are falling further back. They're now 3 losses in all 3 matches with 10 goals allowed. It is not the way that they wanted to get off to in this edition of the Copa Libertadores. But we still have 3 matches to go, and they will play everybody one more time, and things can change very quickly in South America. One thing I love about South American football is it's a lot less predictable than the European version of the Champions League. There are strong teams and there are big bank accounts and there are high payrolls, but once the match is being played on the pitch, it is, you never know, because there are different factors. There's heat in some places, there's cold in others, there's altitude. It's a large continent with a lot of variables. There's a lot more travel. Anything can happen. It's a little bit more of a wear and tear on teams in that regard. So you never know. It is not impossible for a team to lose their first 3 matches and win their second 3. So don't count out Universitario just yet. Go to Group B, and we kick off on the 5th of May. It's Internacional of Porto Alegre hosting Paraguayan side Olimpia at the Estadio Beira Rio, and Internacional without any trouble at all. It's a 6-1 thumping of Olimpia, and goals for Internacional would come from Cuesta in the 29th. Eden Nielsen would score a penalty, convert a penalty kick in the 52nd. Thiago Gallardo puts in a double for the Brazilian. He gets a goal in the 64th and 71st. Yuri Alberto would add to that lead in the 77th, and Caio would finish out the scoring account on the day for Inter de Porto Alegre. In the 80th minute, Olimpia would get a goal of their own from Gonzalez from the penalty spot in the 86th. But a very, very dominating performance and a very comfortable place to be right now if you are Internacional, because you just added your goal difference, which is very, very important in the event of tiebreakers in the table. The other match in the group was a day later. It was the 6th of May, 2021, and we are in La Paz, Bolivia, Estadio Hernando Siles, and always ready with a big win. They win 2-0 over Venezuelan side Deportivo Táchira, and it was Ovejero and Mosquera with the 2 goals for Always Ready. And Ovejero opening his account in the 24th minute, while Mosquera would bang home a penalty in the 82nd minute, just 8 minutes from full time. And it's a tough blow for the Venezuelan side. This was a match they needed. Both teams needed if they're going to fight for a spot in the round of 16 of this Copa Libertadores. But remember, in Copa Libertadores, the third place team in each group, though knocked out of the Copa Libertadores, will pass to the Copa Sudamericana round of 16. So Olimpia and Deportivo Táchira, at worst case, are going to fight for that spot. And for some clubs, the goal is getting that third spot and continuing their continental voyage, continuing their journey through continental football, and trying to advance in the Copa Sudamericana and put themselves in a position to go deep in that competition. So a lot still to play for, again, in Group B, just as in Group A. And in Group C, well, in Group C, a little bit of a surprise in this one. It was match a day 3, of course. First, we had on the 4th of May, Santos, the defending finalists, if you will, after coming through the preliminary stages and booking their spot in to the group stage. And after a tough start with 2 defeats in the first 2 match days, they finally come alive at home against Bolivia's The Strongest. We are at the Estadio Urbano Caldera in the Santos section of Sao Paulo, and they got goals in the first minute from Marinho, second minute from Pirani. 26th minute from Pirani. Vinicius would make it 3-0 in the 43rd, and Lucas Braga and Kevin Malthus would add tallies to their accounts, and Santos will finally pick up a victory here, 5-0 over The Strongest. It's their first points of this edition of the Copa Libertadores in the group stage. However, later that night, in Ecuador, again, Barcelona de Guayaquil with a huge upset, and we're going to bring that matchup and profile a little bit here. It is Barcelona versus Boca Juniors in Romero Carbo in Guayaquil, in the Estadio Isabel Romero Carbo in Guayaquil in Ecuador. And let's look at the lineups. We will start with the Ecuadorian side. Javier Buray is the goalkeeper. They are playing 3-4-3 for their manager, Fabian Bustos. The 3 in the back, Luis Leon, Bruno Piñateres, and Williams Riveros. In midfield, you got 4, Byron Castillo, Nixon Molina, Leonardo Martinez, and Mario Pineda are the 4 in midfield. And the trio d'attack is Michael Hoyos, Carlos Garces, and Damian Diaz. And for Boca Juniors, one of the real powerhouses of the continent, the Argentine champions, the Copa Diego Maradona champions, they are managed, of course, by Miguel Russo, and they are playing a 4-3-3. In goal, Agustin Rossi. 4 across the back, Julio Alberto Buffarini, Lisandro Lopez, Carlos Izquierdos, and Emmanuel Mast, the 3 in midfield. Anchored by Alan Varela in the center, with Nicolas Capaldo to one side and Leonardo Jara to the other. And the 3 in attack, the striker was Franco Soldano. Christian Pavon is on the right, and Agustin Obando is on the left. You look, there's a few key names missing from the 11, notably Carlos Tevez. Carlito Tevez is missing from the 11, as is Sebastian Villa. And Sebastian Villa is not even listed as injured here, but also Carlos Zambrano, Eduardo Salvio, Edward Cardona, Esteban Andrada, Luis Vasquez, and Mauro Zarate, all injured. And Nacho Fernandez is also on the bench. And it's an interesting lineup put out there by Miguel Russo, but you still expect Boca Juniors, especially because Guayaquil is not at altitude, it is at sea level. You expect them to do better, or at least to come away with a point in this one. Control of the group was at stake here, but hats off to the Ecuadorian side. It was in the 62nd minute that Carlos Garces scored and put the Ecuadorian side ahead, and they would not look back. Boca Juniors were pushed forward. They were trying to get that equalizer to take home with them back to Argentina. Of course, by the end of the match, I think they knew that Santos had won, and they wanted to get a point to keep the distance and to not fall within a 3 point gap of Santos in third place. But it was not meant to be on the day for La Genice, and for that it would be 3 points to Barcelona. They take control of the group right now. The strongest are on the opposite spectrum, as through 3 matches they have 3 defeats, no goals scored, 10 allowed, and they're going to have to turn it around if they want to compete in this very, very tough group. Let's be fair. Let's be very honest. This is a very, very tough group. But if the strongest want to compete and at least try to push for a spot in the Copa Sudamericana, they're going to have to turn it around. They're going to have to start putting the ball in the back of the net. They cannot afford to lose every match, and they cannot afford to be kept off the score sheet. They got 3 matches left, and they will be playing 2 of them at home, at altitude in La Paz. So there is still a chance that they can muster off enough points if Santos, or even more so Santos, because they're slightly behind right now. They're behind Boca Juniors and Barcelona. But if Santos slip up again, this could be a chance for the strongest to turn it around. Of course, the strongest will be hosting Santos at their stadium in the final match day. All right, let's move ahead. Let's go to Group D. Group D, and it's the 6th of May. These matches were played on Thursday, and we start in Paraguay. Excuse me. It's a Colombian team, but the match is being played in Paraguay for off the pitch reasons. And it is Santa Fe hosting River Plate of Argentina. River Plate, of course, the 2018 winners of this competition in that famous final, 2-legged final, if you will. The last time the final was played over 2 legs, that famous one against their arch rivals, Boca Juniors, where they won in extra time, having to play their home leg in Madrid, of all places, taking the South American Championship match to Europe. But there were very outstanding circumstances in that one. The referee for this one is Alexis Herrera of Venezuela. And this one, there's not much to talk about. The Argentine side goes to Paraguay, to the borrowed home, the Estadio General Pablos Rojas in Asunción, where Santa Fe was essentially renting the stadium and using it as a home field, far away from their home. It was a 0-0 draw. There's not much to talk about here, and both teams take a share of the spoils. In the other match, it was in Colombia. It was in Barranquilla. Sorry, it was not in Colombia. Again, another match that was not played in Colombia. So I don't believe they're playing these matches in Colombia right now. There's things going on, like I said, off the pitch in Colombia, along the lines of a general strike. And I think the COVID situation is also somewhat dire there in Colombia. And so the Colombian teams are playing their home games outside of Colombia. This one was also in Guayaquil in Ecuador. It was Junior Barranquilla hosting Brazilian side Fluminense, and it would be a 1-1 draw. Both goals came early. Christian Borja for Junior Barranquilla would score in the 11th minute from the penalty spot, and then Kaiki of Fluminense would level 8 minutes later. It'd be 1-1, and that would be it for that one. So in this group, nothing changes. Everybody takes a point. Group D proceeds as they started the day. Group E. All right, and we are in Argentina for the first one. It is Racing Santander hosting Sao Paulo. And, well, we're not going to spend much time on this group as well. It is a 0-0 draw for Racing in Sao Paulo. And at the 2 hours later in Uruguay at the Centenario, it was Rentistas versus Peruvian side Sporting Cristal. And guess what? 0-0 there as well. All 4 teams take a point, same as in the previous group. Nothing changes. Everything stays the way it started. Group F. And we have our first team to lock up qualification for the round of 16. Let's go to Group F, and we'll start on May the 6th. And we are in Paraguay once again, and it's another Colombian team playing their home match in Asunción, this time at the Estadio Manuel Ferreira. And it is Atlético Nacional hosting Argentinos Juniors. And the Argentine side goes into Paraguay, and Avalos takes no prisoners as he scores in the 18th and in the 80th. Argentinos Juniors win over Atletico Nacional. They take 3 points. They are perfect through 3 matches and mathematically qualify for the next stage of at least the Copa Sudamericana. So they have not qualified for the last 16 just yet of the Copa Libertadores, but they are guaranteed that they will not be out of continental play after this group stage. They have 3 victories from 3 matches. One day earlier, however, in Santiago, Chile, Estadio San Carlos de Apoquindo, it is Universidad Católica versus Nacional. And not to confuse Nacional with Atlético Nacional. Nacional is from Uruguay, Atlético Nacional from Colombia. But it is the Chilean side on this night that would have their way. Zempedri would open the scoring in the 30th minute from the penalty spot. Nacional's Fernandez would level in the 45th +1. But in the second half, it was the Chilean side. It was Valencia. It was Diego Valencia with a goal in the 59th minute. And then the account would be closed, and the 3 points guaranteed by Clemente Jose Montes of Universidad Católica. Chilean side take their first 3 points in the competition. Moving now to Group G, and we got another team that has assured themselves of continuing at least to the Copa Sudamericana, and it is none other than the 2019 champions, Flamengo. That's right. Vamos Mango. They did it again. The Rubro Negros get all 3 points at altitude in Quito, Ecuador. This was a big victory for them. This was an exciting match. And I have to admit that I made the error, because remember, these matches kick off quite late if you live here on the East Coast of the United States, especially if you wake up at 2 in the morning like I do. Flamengo was up 2-0 in this one. They're playing Liga de Quito in the Estadio Rodrigo Paz Delgado. Gabigol scores in the 3rd minute to get things going for Flamengo. In the 30th minute, maybe the best goal I have seen in months, scored by Bruno Henrique. And I said at that point, I can now go to sleep. Flamengo got this. Well, little did I know, in the 50th minute, Martinez Borja for Liga de Quito would draw the Ecuadorian side 1 back. We're, of course, in their home stadium at the Casablanca. And then Amarilla would level it in the 61st minute. It was 2-2, and it was looking like Flamengo may just slip up and give away the points that they thought they had locked up in the first half hour of the match. But in the 85th, the referee Esteban Ostrich of Uruguay would point to the spot. Gabigol steps up, and who else? He buries it. It is 3-2. Flamengo win in Ecuador, and Flamengo now have 3 wins from 3 matches, 9 points, and are sitting very, very pretty atop Group G. We move now to, well, I skipped the other match. Let's stay in Group G for a minute. Unión La Salera, the Chilean side, hosting Argentina's Vélez Sarsfield at the Estadio Municipal Nicolás Nazar in La Salera, Chile. And the Argentine side comes in and picks up 3 massive points on the road. Bozat would score in the 38th minute, and then Orellano would close it out in the 90th +5. All 3 points go home to Argentina with Vélez Sarsfield. Now we move to Group H, and it is the final group, and here we are, and we're on May the 4th. Okay, and we are at the Estadio Mineirão in Belo Horizonte. It is Atlético Mineiro taking on Paraguayan side Cerro Porteño. And who remembers this name? Hulk. All those years ago at Football Club do Porto and at Zenit St. Petersburg in Europe, and then a number of successful seasons in the Chinese Super League. He's back home in Brazil now. He's playing for Atlético Mineiro, and he would have a double in this one. Hulk would score in the 90th and in the 45th. Savarino would score in the 73rd, and then Vargas would finish the day with a goal in the 90th +2. Atlético Mineiro take all 3 points at home and put themselves atop the group. And in the other match in the group, we're in Venezuela at the Estadio Olímpico of Caracas, and it is Deportivo La Guaira versus América de Cali, who are just struggling. The Colombian side, América de Cali, just can't seem to get it together in this edition of the Copa Libertadores. Struggling even they are on the road. However, this is a match for a team that needed points as badly as they did. They needed a victory here in Venezuela. They could not get it, and the Venezuelan side takes another point. Interestingly, Deportivo La Guaira of Venezuela have 3 draws in 3 matches. They have drawn all 3 opponents, while América de Cali pick up their first points, and no doubt they needed better. Let's now go ahead and go to the tables, as I'm going to put it up on your screens now. And let's see here as I pull it up for you guys. Courtesy, of course, as always, of SofaScore. You can see the URL there in the top. Just go to SofaScore and you can see all of this information. We start in Group A, and you see there Palmeiras top of the group, 3 victories from 3 matches, 10 goals for, 3 against. And you can see that they've got 9 points. Defensa y Justicia right now sitting in second with the superior goal difference. And it says here, in the event that 2 or more teams have equal number of points, the following rules break the tie. So goal difference is the first tiebreaker. We said that 5-0 victory for Santos was important. This is why the first tiebreaker right there is goal difference. And you can see on your screen, if you're watching, Defensa y Justicia have a victory, a draw, and a defeat. But 5 goals scored, 3 allowed for a +2 goal difference, and they have 4 points, just like Independiente del Valle. And Del Valle has also a win, a draw, and a loss, but they have 5 goals scored and 6 allowed. So their inferior goal difference right now has them dropping to the Copa Sudamericana and not advancing. That is the difference right now between those 2 teams. They will play each other once again, though. And there you see Universitario with 3 matches, 3 defeats, 2 goals scored, 10 allowed. Group B. Inter Porto Alegre is top of the group with 6 points on goal difference. They have 2 victories and a defeat. Bolivia's always ready, also 2 victories and a defeat. But you see a far different goal difference. And again, remember that Inter Porto Alegre won big this week. They won 6-1 and definitely padded that goal difference stat, which is very, very important. And in third is Olimpia of Paraguay. 1 victory, 2 defeats, 5 goals scored, 10 allowed. They have 3 points, same as Deportivo Táchira. But Deportivo Táchira with also on a -5 goal difference, interestingly enough. So if you see here, if you're watching, I'll highlight the next tiebreaker after goal difference is goals scored, and then goals scored away. So head-to-head never comes into play in South America in Copa Libertadores. Important to keep that in mind. You see there the matchups in the next match day. Deportivo Táchira will host Internacional. Always Ready will host Olimpia. Group C, Barcelona, Guayaquil are top with a perfect record of 3 victories, no defeats, no draws. Look at that, 7 goals scored, but big, fat 0 in the department of goals allowed. 3 clean sheets for the Ecuadorian side. We'll see how that factors them into next week's power rankings. Just a hint: clean sheets make a big difference in the power rankings. So they make a sizable difference. So keep that in mind. Again, I'm debuting that next week. Barcelona have 9 points. Boca Juniors right behind them. 2 victories, 1 defeat, 3 goals for, 1 allowed. They haven't allowed much, but they also have not scored much. Disappointing in that statistic, no doubt, for Miguel Russo's men. And the blue and gold of Boca Juniors, they're going to want to turn it on at some point. They're going to need to turn it on. They need to start putting the ball in the back of the goal. They got 6 points right now, 3 ahead of Santos, who right now are sitting in a Copa Sudamericana spot. 1 victory, 2 defeats, 5 goals for, all of them coming in 1 game and 4 against. And the strongest of Bolivia are in 4th. Like I said, not even a goal scored yet. 3 defeats, 10 allowed. It's an uphill battle, but it won't be the first time, that a team loses 3 and then wins 3 in the Copa Sudamericana. Moving to Group D. Fluminense are top of the group right now with 5 points, 1 victory, 2 draws, 4 goals for, 3 allowed. River Plate right there with them, also on 5 points. Only difference is River Plate have scored 3 goals. Fluminense have scored 2. Junior Barranquilla have no victories yet, but they have a draw. I'm sorry, they have 2 draws and a defeat, a -1 goal difference, and they're slightly ahead of Santa Fe. The 2 Colombian sides are in 3rd and 4th and separated only by 1 goal scored. Junior with 3 goals scored, while Santa Fe has 2 goals scored. And you see there the next matchups. Atletico Junior will host River Plate, and Fluminense will travel to Santa Fe, or Independiente Santa Fe, as it says here. In Copa Libertadores Group E, it is São Paulo, the tricolor, top of the group. They have 7 points from 2 victories and a draw. 5 goals scored, none allowed. 3 clean sheets for São Paulo as well. And below them is Racing Santander, and they have 5 points from 1 victory, 2 draws, 3 goals scored, 2 allowed. Racing have 5 points. Rentistas of Uruguay are behind them with 2, and Sporting Cristal with 1. Rentistas host São Paulo, and Sporting Cristal host Racing this week. Group F, Argentinos Juniors have 9 points, and they're perfect also with 3 clean sheets. Atletico Nacional are second on 4 points, and they are dead even in goal difference. 6 goals allowed, 6 scored, 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat, putting them right now in second place. So Universidad Católica are third on 3 points. They have a victory and 2 defeats. And Nacional of Montevideo are bottom of the table right now with 1 point from 1 draw, 5 goals scored, and 9 allowed. Group G, Flamengo, top of the table, perfect so far. 9 points, 3 victories. However, 5 goals allowed, quite a bit allowed for a team in first place, but they have scored 10. So they obviously are just outscoring their opponents. If you're interested in seeing highlights, you can see here on this tab of Sofa Score, you can see highlights to all of these matches. Liga de Quito LDU have 4 points. They're second right now, a win, a loss, and a draw. 7 goals for, 6 against. This is the highest scoring group thus far in the competition. Vélez Sarsfield, 1 point behind them with a victory and 2 defeats. They have 3 points in Unión La Salera, have a draw at this point. They won this week. I'm not sure why it's saying that. I think this is an error on SofaScore's part. But no, I'm thinking of Universidad Católica. This is Unión La Salera. Sorry, I got my Chilean sides mixed up there for a moment. They do have 1 point. And then in Group H, Atlético Mineiro, Ugalu, top of the group, 7 points, 7 goals for, 2 goals allowed. Cerro Porteño are second with 4 points. La Guaira third with 3. And América de Cali, as we said, continuing their struggles. They are fourth with 1 point. Next round, América de Cali versus Atlético Mineiro. And La Guaira versus Cerro Porteño. Let's look quickly at the team of the week, as you can see right here on the right side of your screen if you're watching. Of course, if you're listening to the podcast, I will read these names for you, but this is according to SofaScore and according to their algorithm and their statistics and their player rating system. The team of the week this week is, my screen changed for a moment. I love when it refreshes on its own and I don't want it to. Here it is. João Paulo, the goalkeeper from Santos, is the goalkeeper this week in the team of the week. The three in the back, Luan, Alonso, and Cuesta. This is a very heavy Brazilian best 11 this week. Marinho of Santos is one of the midfielders, along with Pedro Vite of Independiente del Valle. He finds himself in the best 11. We got Juan Arce in there, as well as Johnny Sanchez. And then up front, there's three attackers this week. We've got Jefferson Savarino of Atlético Mineiro, Hulk of Atlético Mineiro, and Gabigol of Flamengo. That is the team of the week. Here you see so far the top-rated players in this year's edition of the competition, according, of course, to SofaScore. Gabigol leads with an average 8.3 rating. You can check it out on the website there and see who the top-rated players are. Let's look at the leaderboard in goals scored. It is Gabigol leading the way in the Golden Boot race right now with 5 goals. Ronnie and Hulk have 4, and then a whole host of players. We have Gonzalo Bergesio, Gabriel Avalos, Fred, Christian, I'm getting ahead of myself here. No, I am not. It is Gonzalo Bergesio, Gabriel Avalos, Fred, Christian Martinez, Carlos Garces, and Thiago Gallardo, all with 3 goals. Those are the leaders right now. That is Copa Libertadores as it stands right now. And you see where we are. We have big matches again this week. This competition flies. The group stage, they play every single week. This is a competition that just absolutely flies. So the group stage goes so fast, and then before you know it, there's a huge layoff, and then we come back for the knockout stage later, which will obviously be after Copa America later in the year. So we're going to take a real quick break here. When we come back, we're going to get right into Copa Sudamericana, and from there, we will wrap up this episode 34. This is Parking the Bus. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho. Follow me on Twitter at PTV_media. You see it right there. Also on Instagram at the same PTV_media. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out the website, www.parkingthebusmedia.com. Welcome back to Parking the Bus, episode 34. Let's move now to Copa Sudamericana. We're going to start in Group A, and these matches are played across the 5th and 6th of May earlier this week. And we have 2 draws to talk about, so all stays the same in Group A of the Copa Sudamericana. In Viña del Mar, Chile, it is Huachipato 1, Rosario Central 1, Altamirano with the goal for Huachipato, while Zabala scores for Rosario Central. And the next day in Buenos Aires, it was San Lorenzo hosting 12 de Octubre. 1-1 there as well. Troyansky scores for San Lorenzo. Nunez for 12. And everything stays the same in Group A. Group B, May the 4th, the first one at the Estadio do Pituacho in Salvador, Brazil. It is Bahia hosting Independiente, and the Argentines go in to Brazil and take a point. It is 2-2. Bahia's goals come from Tassiano and Luis Otavio, while Independiente's goals come from Herrera and Velasco. Both goals for Independiente, interestingly enough, come from the penalty spot. Independiente actually gets ahead 2-0 here over Bahia, and the Brazilian side fights back. Independiente's goals in the 43rd and 51st. In the 57th, that's where Taisiano would score for Bahia, and then Luis Otavio, 8 minutes from time, would level it a point to each. In Montevideo at the Parque Alfredo, Victor Vieira, it is Montevideo City. Yes, another city football club. Montevideo City 4. Guabirá of Bolivia 0. Goals from Scotto, Del Prete with 2, and Guerrero with 1. Montevideo City, interestingly, scores 2 goals after the 90-minute mark, 2 goals in stoppage time. They take a comfortable 4-0 victory at home over Guaibirá. But this group, that very, very tight. And remember, in Copa Sudamericana, only first place advances. That's because the 8 third-place teams from Copa Libertadores drop into the round of 16 of Copa Sudamericana. Group C, we start in La Paz in Bolivia, Estadio Hernando Siles. We've already been to this stadium today in one of the Copa Libertadores matches, but it is Bolivar hosting Brazil's Ceará. 0-0, a share of the spoils. The Brazilian side will always be happy to go to La Paz and bring a point home. It's very, very difficult to play at that altitude. I know we keep talking about, but it is a major factor, something that they do not have to deal with in the European Champions League or in the Liga Europa, in the Europa League, anything like that. The altitude in South America is a much, much different animal. Okay, May the 6th, Arsenal Sarandi of Argentina hosting Jorge Wilstermann of Bolivia. 2 Bolivian sides in this group. Arsenal will win a 3-0 at home at the Estadio Julio Humberto Grondona in Sarandi. Albertengo with the goal right in the first minute, setting the tone very early, and then Candia with 2 at the death, 1 in the 84th, 1 in the 87th. 3-0 to Arsenal. We move on, and we go to Group D. And we start in Venezuela at the Olímpico in Caracas. And it is Metropolitanos hosting Ayucas of Ecuador. And we got Metropolitanos getting on the board first. Flores scores in the 14th minute. And then Moreno makes it 2-0 in the 51st minute. That is Johan Moreno. And then in the 65th, from the penalty spot, it is Tomas Pavon converting the penalty for Metropolitanos. They get up 3-0, but the Ecuadorian side fight back. In the 67th minute, they get a penalty of their own, and Roberto Ordóñez is the one to convert the penalty. He beats the goalkeeper, and then 2 minutes later, Alex Carrera makes it 3-2 and pulls the Bolivian side within a goal, but that's as close as they would get. Metropolitanos 3, Ayucas 2, and then later that night in Peru, in the Estadio Nacional in Lima, it is Melgar hosting Brazilian side Atlético Paranaense, and it would be the Peruvian side in this one. They will win a 1-0, a goal from Christian Bordachar in the 50th minute. And it is the first points dropped by the Brazilian side in this competition. Moving on to Group E, we are again at the Estadio Nacional in Lima, and it is a Sport Huancayo versus Corinthians. The Brazilians go into Lima and they win 3-0. 2 goals from Luan, one from Kawe, and Corinthians pick up their first victory of the competition. They had been floundering a little bit in the first 2 match days. They make a statement here in match day 3 with a 3-0 victory in Lima, Peru over Sport Huancayo. In Montevideo, Uruguay, it is Peñarol, the classic black and yellow side. They take on Paraguay's version of River Plate, if you will, and it is the Uruguayan side taking care of business 3-0 at home. Goals from Kegelmacher, Torres, and Canobio in the 22nd, 80th, and 89th, respectively. Peñarol takes control of this group. Now, moving on to Group F, and we start in Rancagua, Chile. It is Palestino hosting Argentine side Newell's Old Boys. Newell's Old Boys travel and travel well, and they save it for the final moments, 90th +2. That's when Newell's Alexis Rodriguez would hit home the winner and take all 3 points back across the Andes to Argentina. In the other match, 2 days later on the 6th of May in Asuncion, it was Libertad hosting Brazilian side Atlético Goianense, and the Brazilians go into Paraguay and pick up the 3 points. Zé Roberto scores in the 40th. Arnaldo doubles it in the 86th. In the 90th +2, Libertad pull one back from the foot of Barrero, but too little too late for the Paraguayans. And it is Atlético Goianense picking up crucial 3 points on the road in Paraguay. Next, in Group G, we are in Brazil again to start. We are at the Estadio Nabi Abdi Chedid in Bragança, Paulista, and it is Red Bull Bragantino. We got a city group team here, and we also got a Red Bull team here. It is Red Bull Bragantino. One of the surprising revelations, if you will, discoveries of last year's Brasileirão, but they are not having a good run of it here early in the Copa Sudamericana. The Brazilian side will lose at home to Talleres of Argentina. That goal comes from Valloyes in the 90th +3, right at the death. Absolutely brutal blow to Red Bull Bragantino there late in the 90th +3. In the other match in the group, Deportes Tolima of Colombia hosting Emelec. This one played in the Monumental of Lima, Peru. Again, not in Colombia. And Tolima will win 1-0. No, sorry, it's a 1-1 draw. Excuse me. Tolima would score first in the 22nd from the spot. Mosquera would convert the penalty in the 41st. Zapata would level for Emelec, the Ecuadorian side, take a point with them back to Ecuador. Moving on. Group H, the final group, and maybe the most dominant side so far in this competition, the Brazilian side, Grêmio Porto Alegre. Remember, they had a disastrous exit from the Copa Libertadores in the final preliminary round, losing 4-2 on aggregate to Independiente del Valle, losing even at home to the Ecuadorian side. But they're taking it out now on their Copa Sudamericana rivals. And in this match day, it would be, get this, Grêmio 8, Aragua of Venezuela 0 at the Arena do Grêmio. Luis Fernando, Diego Souza, Ferreira, Hernandez, Maicon, and Churin all scoring for Grêmio. Ferreira and Luis Fernando with doubles. 8-0, sending Aragua back to Venezuela. No doubt with a heavy head. That is a crushing defeat at this stage of the season, this stage of a competition. In the same night, a few hours later in Asuncion, it is another Colombian side playing their home match in Asuncion. La Equidad of Colombia hosting Lanús of Argentina. And Lanús go in and they get the victory. A 27th minute goal from Bera is all that the Argentine side needed to take home the points. Now, let's take a look here and let's look at the tables in Copa Sudamericana. And we'll pull it right back up for you guys now. Of course, if you're listening, you're not seeing any of this, but if you're not watching, if you go over to www.parkingthebusmedia.com and you can watch there. The episodes are shared there. They are posted there in the blog. Also, you can watch this on the Parking the Bus or the PTB Media Network's YouTube page. Please go there and do subscribe. Here are the tables in Group A. Huachipato, top of the group right now. Actually, they are all tied up. It is 5 points for each, same record, same goals for, same goals against, which would mean that the difference must be the number of away goals right now between Huachipato and 12 de Octubre. There is the next round, San Lorenzo hosting Rosario Central in an Argentine derby, and 12 will host Huachipato for control of the group. Group B, Independiente are top of the group and they have 7 points. Bahia second right now with 5. Torque is Montevideo City. Torque, they have 4 points from 1 win, 1 draw, 1 defeat. Guaybira are in 4th right now with no points. Look at that, 12 goals allowed. Next round, Guaybira hosts Bahia and Montevideo City hosts Independiente. Group C, Ceará are slightly ahead of Bolivar right now. Ceará have 5 points, as do Bolivar, but Ceará 3 goals scored, Bolivar 2. So right now that is the difference. The next round has Ceará hosting Arsenal de Sarandi, while Bolivar hosts Wilstermann in a all Bolivia affair. Group D, Melgar are the lead right now with 9 points, 3 ahead of Atlético Paranaense. And you see there they have 3 victories, while Atlético Paranaense lost in this crucial showdown earlier this week. The next round has Metropolitanos hosting Atlético Paranaense. Metropolitanos, of course, you see there are in 3rd place with 3 points, and Ayucas, the Ecuadorian side, are bottom with 3 defeats, no points. They're going to host Melgar this week. Group E, Peñarol are atop of the group with 9 points, and they're running away. Perhaps just 1 victory away, possibly, from clinching the group. They got a key matchup this week against Corinthians. Peñarol win at home over Corinthians. It's gonna seal the fate for the Brazilian side, but it will also require River Plate here to win their match at Sport Huancayo. And well, if the results are just right, if Peñarol win and the other 2 teams draw, that would put Peñarol into the round of 16 of the Copa Sudamericana. Group F, Atlético Goianiense in the lead right now with 7 points, 1 point better than Libertad. Newell's is 3rd with 4 points, and Palestino are bottom. You see there, Goianiense hosting Palestino and Libertad hosting Newell's Old Boys. Group G, Ecuador's Emelec are top of the table with 7 points, 3 points better than Argentina's Talleres, while Red Bull Bragantino is 3rd on 3 points. Tolima in the bottom with 2 points, but not that far off with 3 matches to play. Only 5 points back from the top spot. Remember, only 1 team will advance. Next round, Red Bull Bragantino hosts Emelec, and Talleres hosts Deportes Tolima. And then in Group H, it is Grêmio with a 3-point lead over Lanús. Grêmio, 3 victories, 12 goals for, 2 allowed. Lanús are second with 6 points. La Equidad are 3rd right now with 3, and Aragua are in the bottom with no points. You see there, the next round of play is a big one. It's a showdown. It's on the 13th of May, and it is Grêmio hosting Lanús, and that one could decide the group. If Grêmio wins that match, they're going to, for all intents and purposes, clinch the group, because look at that difference in goal difference. It is a 9-goal difference right now. Grêmio 9 goals better, so Even if they lose, they will remain top of the group unless they lose by 9 goals. All right. That sums up the Copa Sudamericana for match day 3. Let's look at the team of the week here. You've got in goal, you've got João Ricardo of Ceará, and the 4 in the back. You have Rafinha of Grêmio, Christian Lema, former Benfica player of Newell's Old Boys. You have Jesus Miguel Sorare, and you have, I believe that's Diogo Barbosa of Grêmio. In midfield, you've got Luis Fernando of Grêmio. You've got Oscar Romero of Independiente, Luan of Corinthians, and Ferreira of Grêmio. And up front, Del Prete of Montevideo City, and Jonathan Candia of Arsenal Sarandi to make up the 11 of the week. There you see the top rated player right now is Luis Fernando of Grêmio, Vinha right behind him. And let's look at the top goal scorers quickly. Jonathan Herrera of Independiente with 5. Agustin Alvarez Martinez of Peñarol with 4. Bernardo Cuesta of Melgar is next with 3. And then you've got Gustavo Del Prete. Sorry, Cuesta and Del Prete have 4. Ferreira has 3, as does David Terans, Sergio Mosquera, Francisco Friedzwetsky, and then Christian Bordachar and Facundo Barcelo, all with 3 goals. All right. For those of you listening on the podcast, my friends, that is it for episode number 34. And we're going to leave you here on the podcast. Okay, those of you watching on video, we're going to continue because episode 35 starts right after this. Thank you for listening. Make sure to follow the show on the social media. Make sure to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Subscribe on YouTube and alert yourself so that you get an alert every time. Every time I go live here on this platform. All right. Okay. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho signing off to the podcast, and for the video, we'll be back in just a few moments. This is Parking the Bus. Thank you for listening. What's up, PTB Nation? Welcome to episode 35 of Parking the Bus, North American edition. We're talking CONCACAF today. We're talking CONCACAF Champions League. We're talking CONCACAF futsal. We're talking Liga MX Liguilla. Playoffs are underway. The wild card round is complete. We now know our 8 participants in the Liguilla proper in Mexico. Plus, we got a ton of results to run down in Major League Soccer and in Hyundai A-League. So let's just get right started. I want to start with a huge shout out to the U.S. futsal national team. What a performance. Okay, listen. Last night, the reason this show's coming out right now early in the morning on a Monday and not last night when I planned to is because I was watching USA Costa Rica in the CONCACAF final in futsal. And my plan was to go live and record while I watched it, but I was into that match far too much. This just inspiring ragtag amateur side from the United States with a heavy Northeast Boston presence, heavy presence of the Brazilian American community in this U.S. team. I was behind them. I was captivated. I watched this. You cannot say enough. Now, the match was streaming live on Facebook, and that's where I was watching last night. And it was really funny in the chat because it was you. The Costa Rican fans were confused why the U.S. fans were all speaking Portuguese and why there were so many Brazilians pulling for the U.S. And then they were clearly unfamiliar with this team because there's a heavy Brazilian influence in this U.S. team, and they hung with the best of CONCACAF. They were, one goal away from forcing extra time and maybe getting to lift the trophy. They had a brutal semifinal the night before against Guatemala, which they won in penalty kicks. And let me tell you, a penalty shootout in futsal is not for the weak of heart. Okay, it is not for the weak at heart because, man, those penalty kicks are from so close, and those guys rocket that ball, and these goalkeepers just sacrifice their body, hoping to get pelted by the ball and to keep it out of the goal. USA qualifies for the Futsal World Cup. That is a major achievement for a fully amateur team. I am proud of the U.S. men's futsal national team. I enjoyed watching 6 matches in 7 days, people. 6 matches in 7 days. All close matches. There were no blowouts. It was all close matches. Wins. They began with a draw against El Salvador, okay, and then wins over Nicaragua and over Cuba, who are one of the powerhouses in CONCACAF in futsal. Cuba are a normal qualifier for the World Cup in futsal. Okay, then in the quarterfinals, beating the Dominican Republic 2-0, beating Guatemala on penalties in the semifinals, but finally falling to the defending champions, Costa Rica. Congratulations to the Ticos. They are now 3 in a row champions of CONCACAF futsal, but Costa Rica, United States, Panama, and Guatemala are headed to the FIFA Futsal World Cup later this year in Lithuania. Hats off to everybody. Okay, so we're going to get into We're going to get into CONCACAF Champions League right now. And the quarterfinals concluded this past week. We went over the first legs last week. Let's go to the second legs now. And we will start on Tuesday, May the 4th. The first match was in Chester, PA. It is Philadelphia Union versus Atlanta United. The two teams come in with on the back, I should say, of a 3-0 Philadelphia win on the road in leg number 1. So they came in rather comfortable. Atlanta would line up in a 4-3-3 for their manager, Gabriel Heinze, the former Manchester United player. In goal, Brad Guzan. He is 4 across the back. Brooks Lennon, Miles Robinson, Anton Walks, and George Bello. 3 in midfield. In the center is Santiago Sosa, and he is supported on his right by Marcelino Moreno and on his left by Emerson Heinemann. And in attack, spearheaded by Venezuela international Josef Martinez. He's got Jake Mulroney to his right and Eric Lopez to his left. Philadelphia Union going to 4-3-1-2 for Jim Curtin, the manager. His goalkeeper is Andre Blake. Olivier Mabaizo is the right back. Jacob Glesnes and Jack Elliott, the center backs, and Kai Wagner, the other outside back. In the center of midfield, you have Leon Flatch, and he has got Alejandro Bedoya, former U.S. international, to his right, and Jamiro Monteiro to his left. Anthony Fontana playing in the number 10 role behind the strikers Sergio Santos and Kaspar Przybyłko. And it would finish 1-1. Goals first for Atlanta United in the 45th. Perhaps giving them some hope of trying to get back into this tie. It was 1-0, but in the 88th, it was finished off by Philadelphia Union. Przybyłko would score 2 minutes from time, 1-1, finishing 4-1 on aggregate. Philadelphia Union advanced to the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions League, which won't be until August. So there's some time now, and they can focus now on Major League Soccer, now knowing that they are through to the semifinals. The other quarterfinal on Tuesday, and it was at the Estadio Azteca. Cruz Azul, the league leaders of Liga MX, hosting Canadian champions Toronto FC. And it would be a slow game for the most part on a heavy pitch. Brian Angulo would score for Cruz Azul in the 28th minute, and that would be all that Cruz Azul would need. 1-0. It finishes 4-1 on aggregate to the Mexican side. They can now focus on the Liguilla, on the Mexican Liga MX Playoffs that kick off this week. They are the top seed, like I said. So there's pressure on Cruz Azul to win the Liga MX Championship for this clausura. Okay, moving to the next day, and it was a little less tight. We're on Wednesday, May the 5th, and we start at the BBVA Compass Stadium in Monterrey. It is Monterrey, the Rayados hosting Columbus Crew, which we're only going to be calling them the Crew for a couple more months. What a stupid decision by Columbus, by the way, to drop Crew from their name. Why are they rebranding? They are one of the founders of Major League Soccer. They have always been the Crew. What, 26 years into it, it's too American? You got to be Columbus SC? Get out of here. Seriously. Crew fans thought that they were saved when they were purchased by the owner of the Cleveland Browns. And I can't imagine who is advising an NFL owner that a Major League Soccer team needs to drop the name Crew from their name. They need to be Columbus SC. They've always been the Crew. My belief is they're always going to be the Crew. I think their supporters will always refer to them as the Crew. There may be some major pushback. We have seen this fan base take on ownership before and be successful. Remember the Save the Crew movement? It looks like we're going to have Save the Crew 2.0 now. But anyway, there's no saving the Crew in CONCACAF Champions League. They go to Mexico. They get smacked 3-0 by Monterrey. They're just not ready for this level of competition. They went in a bit naive, I think, having come off the first leg 2-2. They knew they needed to score because they had surrendered 2 away goals, but winning 1-0 is enough. There's no reason to leave yourself so wide open. Maximiliano Mesa scores for Monterrey in the 3rd and the 26th minute, and then Miguel Layun finishes it off in the 71st minute. Now, moving on here, and we have the biggest of the teams here in the competition remaining, and I think this was the marquee matchup of the quarterfinal. This was the most exciting. I watched this one from start to finish. It is again at the Estadio Azteca, and leave it to CONCACAF and leave it to CONCACAF and their wisdom to put 2 games on back-to-back nights at the Azteca. Leave it to that. Why Cruz Azul couldn't play at home in the first leg, or America play at home in the first leg, whichever, and the other play at home in the second leg, so you don't play matches on back-to-back nights on the same pitch? Again, in the words of Bruce Arena, welcome to CONCACAF. But it didn't matter. Club America, take care of business. Portland Timbers put up a good fight, but they could not do it at the Azteca. 3-1, the victory to the Mexican side. Goals from Federico Viñas with 2. He scored once from the penalty spot and once from open play. He scores in the 21st and the 59th. And Diego Valeri would bring him one back from the penalty spot. And suddenly, Portland know that if they get a goal, they advance. Okay, the first leg finished 1-1 in Portland. All of a sudden, it's 3-2. And if Portland get a second away goal, they are advancing to the semifinals. It would have set up an all MLS semifinal. But again, Leonardo Suarez of Club America says, hold my beer. And he scores in the 70th. Club America advance. It'll be Club America versus Philadelphia Union in the semifinal. The other semifinal, of course, will be Monterrey versus Cruz Azul. So 3 Liga MX sides, 1 MLS side. Once again, we have to have this conversation. And I'm of the school of thought that it has less to do with the calendar, okay? Because guess what? In August, the Mexican teams are going to be on the flip side. MLS is going to be in midseason form. Liga MX is going to be in preseason form or early season form. I don't want to hear about the calendar. Okay, this is where I strongly disagree with Kartik Krishnaiyer of the World Soccer Talk. Okay, he thinks the calendar. I think the biggest problem for Major League Soccer and CONCACAF Champions League are the stupid roster rules. It's the stupid salary cap. You're taking a closed market team into an open market competition and then being upset about the calendar because you didn't win, because you're not competing. MLS has closed that gap, but the problem is, and it's fairly obvious. Look at these score lines. The MLS teams spend all of their salary cap, or the majority of it, in attacking players. Liga MX teams don't have a salary cap. They spend more balanced and they have stronger backlines. And they still have good attacking players. In the front half of the pitch, I think the two leagues are basically even. Major League Soccer has some very, very good attacking players that they have recruited from everywhere in the world, as does Liga MX. But in the back, the Mexican sides are far stronger. That is the difference. Okay, it is roster rules, it is salary cap, and it is trying to compete against teams that don't have to play by those rules. And then it's MLS fanboys complaining that they don't have salary caps. No. This is the world's game, MLS fanboys. This is the world's game. You play by the world's rules, or you don't win. It's plain and simple. You want to have your parity. You want to have your mediocrity is what I call it. They want to have parity. But a lot of times parity breeds mediocrity in Major League Soccer. And then you want to go to CONCACAF Champions League and compete with Mexican teams. And then you get upset every year because they spend more money than you. No, they spend better, first of all. Club America, Tigres, Monterrey, Cruz Azul spend much better than Major League Soccer teams do. They may not go get the biggest names, okay? There's never been a David Beckham in Liga MX, but they spend smarter. MLS teams spend for a name, for a brand, to sell jerseys. Liga MX spend to win. That is the difference. Until that changes, my friends, Liga MX is going to keep wiping the floor with Major League Soccer overall. Yeah, you might get a team here or there that can go, that can advance and that can make a run. We've seen Toronto, we've seen LAFC make runs in the past. We've seen Real Salt Lake, we've seen Montreal Impact, all get to the final. But at the end, the key in the clutch, there's a comment here saying not until August. I don't know why it says not until August on the YouTube. But anyway, the key is spending wisely. It's time to open up our minds about how we think about this league. The league has come a long way, but it is hitting a ceiling now. Why are there 27 teams? Why not have 18 or 20 strong teams? Stop adding teams. Why? Because that's how they get revenue. Because nobody's watching on television. And I'm not going to just sit here and trash Major League Soccer. I talk about Major League Soccer every week. I follow the league. I talk about the teams. I talk about on the pitch. It's come a long way. In the front office, it's like the JV NFL. It is the NFL, reserves league, basically, in terms of the way and the mentality that the league is run and the way that the league is viewed. How many Major League Soccer fans had a problem with the European Super League? How can you have a problem with that and then support a closed league in North America? Major League Soccer kills local football in virtually every market it exists in. I know this. We've been because I've been on the lower level side in a big market. Okay? In a major market. You know, it's impossible to get people to care. Why are the successful lower level teams in small cities? Because Major League Soccer hasn't gone there yet to kill the local system, to kill the local culture. Yeah, this is going to rub some people the wrong way, and a lot of these MLS fan groups on Facebook, for example, they're talking, and like, of course, I'm a Euro snob according to them. I'm on my second hour or so talking about South American and Central American and North American football, but I'm a Euro snob. Okay, I'm a Euro snob because I like the way leagues are run in Europe. Okay, because I like promotion and relegation. I'm a Euro snob to these people, which is fine. I'll take that as a badge of honor. Okay. We have no pro-rel in the United States. We need pro-rel. It's not going to happen, but it is what would be best for the game, maybe not for the business of the game. I talked about the CONCACAF Futsal Championships. We don't even have a league in futsal. We don't even have a professional league in futsal. And people are trashing the U.S. team, a fully amateur team last night in the chat during the match. Let's see you go play 6 matches in 7 days against top competition. And they are top competition. Don't think because it's CONCACAF, they're not top competition. Any country can put together. The beauty of futsal is any country can get 6, 7, 8 top level players together on a squad and compete. Ask Mexico how they did at the CONCACAF Futsal Championship. They got smacked. They lost to Suriname. Okay? Suriname. Because anybody can compete in futsal. It's a very, very how do you say, even playing field, if you will, because you don't need a lot of players. But we don't even have a league. How are we going to grow the sport? We don't have a pyramid in 11 on 11. We don't. We have Major League Soccer, and then everything else exists outside of it. Come on. How many players actually progress from USL 1 if they're not already attached to a Major League Soccer team to the MLS? How many players are these clubs missing out on because of our system? Yeah, I know it's easy to go get abroad. It is. And then what do? We put the Yanks in the back. We put all the Americans in the back. We spend less. We pay them less. We lock them into long-term contracts. Why do you think young players aren't signing with Major League Soccer anymore if they can avoid it and can go to Liga MX or go to Europe? You're locked in. Doesn't pay well to be an American center back or an American holding midfielder because your club has spent all their salary on your striker because he sells jerseys and because he scores goals sometimes. He probably won't play on turf. He probably won't play when it's too hot. Yeah, we can complain that we play in the heat. That's fine. I don't know. It's pretty hot in Brazil, and they're pretty good. Just saying. It's pretty hot there. They're pretty good. It's hot in Mexico. Is it ever not hot in Mexico? They're good. How about we stop making excuses and start running these clubs better? Stop running them. Problem is the franchise model. In reality, all 27 Major League Soccer teams are playing for the same team, Major League Soccer. Not playing for Columbus Crew, Portland Timbers, DC United, you name it. That's my 2 cents on that. But I think 1 year from now, I'll be sitting here talking about the semifinals, and it'll be 3 Mexican teams and an MLS team again. Maybe it'll be 2-2, and then we'll talk about maybe one gets to the final. But really, first of all, it's much harder to get into the CONCACAF Champions League through Mexico. You have to get to the final because they play a split season. They have 2 seasons. So you have to get to the final in either the Apertura or the Clausura. Okay? And funny, somebody's commenting here about Flamengo in Spanish to me. I do speak Portuguese. That's fine. But thank you for the comment. And yes, I do think Flamengo are the best team in South America. But anyway, that was off topic. As I lose my train of thought there, yes, Major League Soccer has to rethink things, and they're not going to, because why? They're run by NFL owners. They're run by mainstream American sports owners, and this is why I don't really watch American mainstream sports that much. I can't remember the last time I sat down to watch an NFL game that wasn't the Super Bowl. I can't remember the last time I watched, the NBA, unless it's the Celtics, and if it falls on when I'm not working, because guess what? When you wake up at 3 a.m. every day, you don't have time to watch a game that tips off at 8:05. Sorry, you just can't. But Major League Soccer, I really think it needs to reevaluate its roster rules. Yes, it puts a priority on parity, but parity leads to mediocrity, in my opinion. I guess American soccer fans have to decide, and when you decide this, it's not up to me to judge. American soccer or football fans need to decide, do you care more about who wins or how the football is played? Do you want good football, or do you want close matches, and do you want exciting play? Because sometimes exciting and good are 2 completely different things. Just some food for thought. Let's take a quick break here on the podcast. And if you're watching on the video, thank you for hanging with me. The video, we're in a double episode on the podcast. This is episode 35. Real quick break, and then we'll run down Major League Soccer and Hyundai A-League before we head to Liga MX for their playoffs. I'll be back in about 30 seconds. All right, welcome back to episode 35, Parking the Bus. I am the Mr. Mike Agostinho. You can see my name there, and you can see my handle. Go ahead and follow on all of your social media and Twitter, Instagram at PTB_media. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe to the channel. All right, let's go to, and for those of you listening on the podcast, of course, as always, a warm hello to you. Make sure you subscribe wherever you're listening, and give me a good rating wherever you're listening. We can really use those right now. Get some more visibility. Let's go to Australia for a moment. Hyundai A-League. And we are going to start with matches on Wednesday, May the 5th. Perth Glory 1, Melbourne City FC 3, Brisbane Roar 2, Western United FC 1. On Thursday, Melbourne Victory at home to MacArthur FC, and it is the visitors, MacArthur FC, with a 2-1 victory. Melbourne Victory continue their struggles. Friday, May the 7th, we had Adelaide United hosting Wellington Phoenix. That one finished 0-0. On the weekend, we had Western Sydney Wanderers 5-0 winners over Western United FC, and Newcastle Jets, one of the bottom sides, drawing 1-1 with the defending champions Sydney FC on Saturday. And then on Sunday, 2 matches. Perth Glory beat up some more on Melbourne Victory. It's 2-1. And Melbourne City FC win 3-2 over Brisbane Roar. Let's look at the table quickly. Melbourne City FC, 41 points, are top of the table right now. Sydney FC are second on 32. Also on 32, Adelaide United, Central Coast Mariners, and MacArthur FC. And the final playoff spot right now in A-League belongs to Western Sydney Wanderers with 31 points. They are 1 better than Brisbane Roar and 3 better than Western United FC. It's winding down in Australia. The playoffs are coming up. And Teams are starting to jockey for position. Let's look now at Major League Soccer and see what happened this week in the MLS. So we will start with the fixtures from Friday, I believe was the start. Yeah, Friday we got kicked off in Utah, in Sandy, Utah to be exact. It's Real Salt Lake 1, San Jose Earthquakes 2. Saturday, Chicago Fire 0, Philadelphia Union 2. Not losing any speed after their CONCACAF Champions League performance midweek. New York Red Bulls win 2-0 at home over Toronto FC. Columbus Crew win 3-1 at home over DC United. Nashville SC 2-0 winners over New England Revolution. Vancouver Whitecaps 2-0 winners over Montreal Impact. Are they still called that? Apparently, they've dropped the Impact as well. Where have I been? They are Club de Montreal. So, Dallas, FC Dallas 1-1 in the Texican Derby. In the Texian Derby, as they call it. It is Dallas 1, Houston Dynamo 1. I hate Houston's new logo, by the way. I think they're overdoing it with this rebranding. This league does way too much of this. Orlando City 1, New York City FC 1. A brilliant goal, another brilliant goal from Nani in this one, as the Lions take a share of the spoils. El Tráfico yesterday afternoon in LA. It was LA Galaxy 2, LAFC 1. Goals from the Galaxy coming from Chicharito Hernandez and Jonathan Dos Santos, the two Mexico internationals, while LAFC's goal comes from the Uruguayan Diego Rossi. The Galaxy win again in El Tráfico. And Saturday night we had in Colorado, it was the Rapids 3, Minnesota United 2. Sunday's matches in Major League Soccer: Inter Miami CF 1, Atlanta United 1, Portland Timbers 1, Seattle Sounders 2 in this famous Cascadia Derby. The Sounders travel south and come away with the 3 points. And then in Kansas City, it was SKC 2, Austin FC 1. Goals for Sporting Kansas City scored by Ilie Sanchez and by where's his name? And by Gadi Kinda. Okay, and the goal from Austin FC comes from John Gallagher in the 7th. Austin FC actually got on the lead on the road here before SKC Sporting Kansas City battled their way back. Let's go to the table in Major League Soccer. We're very early in Major League Soccer. That's why I'm not spending all that much time on it. There's so much that's going to happen, and that can change over the course of the next 30 weeks. But after 4 in the Eastern Conference, New York City FC, our top, New England Revolution, are right behind them, both on 7 points. New York Red Bulls and Orlando City SC and Nashville SC, all with 6 points. Columbus Crew and Atlanta United are 5th and 6th and 7th. Montreal in Miami also on 5 points. All 4 of those teams on 5 points right now. In 10th place, Philadelphia Union have 4. DC United have 3. Toronto FC struggling out of the gates. 3 matches played. They do have 1 in hand. They will play on Wednesday. They have 1 point, while Chicago Fire have 1 point, as do FC Cincinnati. In the West, the Sounders lead the way. Seattle Sounders 10 points from 4 matches. San Jose Quakes right behind them with 9. So is LA Galaxy. Vancouver, Sporting Kansas City, and Colorado all on 7 points in 4th, 5th, and 6th, respectively. And then Austin FC has, Real Salt Lake and Austin FC on 6 points. And then you have Dallas, LAFC, and Houston on 5, Portland on 3, Minnesota in the bottom with no points yet. And the top goal scorers right now, Major League Soccer, it is Chicharito Hernandez leading the way with 6 goals. Seattle's Raul Ruidiaz right behind him with 5. And Valentin Castellanos has 4 for New York City FC. Let's move then to Liga MX. Let's go. It is the Liguilla. We had the wild card round play this weekend. 4 matches, 3 of them very, very good. I watched most of the action. We're gonna start We're gonna start in Torreon. It was Santos Laguna 5, Querétaro 0. That was the one match that was not all that close. That is the one match that was very convincing, and obviously Santos Laguna now advance to the playoffs. They advance. They call this round the reclassification. So Santos Laguna wins the number 5 seed by beating Querétaro, the 12 seed, 5-0. Now, on the same night, yes, we had Leon taking on Toluca, which was a fantastic match Saturday night. I'm gonna pull this one up for you guys, and we're gonna revisit this one. I misspoke. That was last night. Saturday's other match was Atlas hosting Tigres. So let's go to the lineups as we say goodbye to the legend Ricardo Tuca Ferretti in Liga MX. He announced this was going to be his final season at Tigres, and this ended up being his final match because Atlas would win 1-0. Tuca Ferretti's final 11 that he would send out in a 5-2-3. Nahuel Guzman, the Argentine, is the goalkeeper. 5 across the back. The wing back is Eric Avilos. The 3 center backs, Diego Reyes, Carlos Salcedo, and Aldo Cruz. Javier Aquino is the wing back on the left. The double pivot in midfield, Rafael Carioca paired with Guido Pizarro. 3 attacking midfielders in front of him, Carlos Gonzalez. Sorry, three forwards in front of him, Carlos Gonzalez, Julian Quinones, and the Frenchman André Pierre Gignac. Atlas would come out for their manager, Diego Coca. His goalkeeper is Camilo Vargas. In the back, he's got Diego Barbosa, Anderson Santamaria, Martin Hugo Nervo, and Jesus Angulo. Aldo Rocha and Angel Marquez are the double pivot in their midfield. Ian Torres, Renato Ibarra, Jonathan Herrera are the 3 attacking midfielders with Milton Caraglio as the striker. And then substitutions would be made. And the key one that would be made by Atlas was in the 78th minute. On came Julio Cesar Furch, and he is an Argentine forward, 31 years old. And 2 minutes later, he would score the winner, and he would end the tenure of Ricardo Tuca Ferretti in charge of Tigres, an absolute legend. I have to give an applause and tip my cap to the legend Tuca Ferretti. A great run. The majority of Tigres' titles were won in the 11 years he was at the helm of Tigres, but that is the end of the run in the Clausura. The Guardianes 2021, as they're calling it this season, for Tigres. So 2 teams into the quarterfinals. Sunday, we had 2 more matches, closer matches here. The best one of the entire weekend was this one. It was Leon versus Toluca, and the defending champions, Leon, they would start in a 4-3-3 for their manager, Ignacio Ambriz, and he would start with Rodolfo Cota in goal, Jose David Ramirez, Jaime Barreto, William Tecillo, and Jairo Moreno across the back. His 3-man midfield anchored by Santiago Colombato. He's got Gian Menezes to one side and Angel Mena to the other. And then his attackers, Emmanuel Gigliotti, Victor Davila, and Joel Campbell, the former Arsenal and Sporting Lisbon striker. For Toluca and for their manager, Hernan Cristante, Luis Garcia is the goalkeeper, Raul Lopez, Jorge Torres Nillo, Miguel Barbieri, and Diego are the 4 in the back, with Rubens Sambuesa, Jose Vasquez, Claudio Biesa, and Alexis Pedro Canelo as the midfielders. And then an attacking midfielder, Kevin Castaneda, playing behind the striker, Michael Estrada. This match was down to the wire, and we'll pull it up here, as it would be Toluca getting on the board first. It was Castaneda in the 18th minute. Davila would level for Leon in the 45th. In the 58th, Canelo would score and put Toluca ahead, and it looked like it was going to finish that way, but then Fidel Ambriz, the young 18-year-old midfielder would be subbed on, and a young player in Liga MX, you know how you can tell someone is a youth player. They have a triple digit number on their jersey. That is Fidel Ambriz. He comes on in the 87th, and in the 89th, the youngster buries a goal of the weekend candidate. Man, did I see some great goals this week. I saw Bruno Enrique in the Copa Libertadores, Nani yesterday, Nani against New York City FC. And then this goal by young Fidel Ambriz in the dying minutes of this playoff match, the dying minutes of this wild card reclassification match, keeps the champions alive. 2-2, forces penalties. We go to penalties. And in the penalties, in the penalties, it starts with Oscar Ortega, and for Toluca, he converts. Jairo Moreno then converts for León, followed by Alexis Canelo. He converts for Toluca, and then Jesus Godinez would convert his penalty. It's 2-2 after 2 rounds for León. The third shooter for Toluca, it would be Diego. He will score. And then the third shooter for León was Joel Campbell, the former Arsenal player, Costa Rica international. He would miss. He fails to capitalize. His left-footed shot was saved in the bottom left corner. Up steps Rubens Sambuesa, and Sambuesa converts. It's 3-2. And then it is Victor Davila for León. And his left-footed shot is close, but it misses to the left. Davila will be disappointed. The champions are eliminated in Liga MX. There will be a new champion, and it is so hard to repeat in Liga MX. I can't remember the last time I saw a team win the Apertura and the Clausura. León were trying to do that, but clearly they're low in the table when they're playing in the reclassification round or the wild card round. They go out to Toluca. So that was that match. And then late last night, the late one, Pachuca, 4-2 winners over Chivas de Guadalajara. We have our 8 now for the proper playoffs, and I'll show you it here on your screen. And this one is going to be courtesy of Wikipedia. And here comes. So there you see your screen. You have the quarterfinals. It'll be Cruz Azul taking on Toluca, Monterrey taking on Santos Laguna, America versus Pachuca, and Puebla versus Atlas. I'll give you the fixture list for the week. So Wednesday, and I think the times are still yet to be determined, but Wednesday's matches. Actually, right now, Liga MX has them all listed as Wednesday. Maybe they are all on Wednesday. It looks like there's some kickoff times to be determined, but we don't have dates or times yet at the time of recording for the quarterfinals. So when we come back next week, we'll obviously review the quarterfinals of the Liga MX. So my plan is to go live late next Sunday night. Okay. When it has completed, there may be still one match in progress, but they're going to play the first leg midweek, second leg next weekend. And by this time next week, we will know who the 4 semifinalists are. The Liga MX playoffs are no joke. They fly. It's a match every 3 to 4 days. There is no rest for the weary. It's not like Major League Soccer where, you get a gap in the middle of it either. And that's not a knock on Major League Soccer. I'm just explaining the difference in Liga MX. It is a very quick 6 matches to lift the trophy. 6 matches to go. There's 6 to glory left for the 8 teams that remain in Liga MX. Okay, that's going to do it for this episode 35. I want to thank everyone who joined me live throughout the broadcast or throughout the live stream on the various platforms, whether it was on Facebook, on YouTube, or on Periscope. We were broadcasting or streaming live on all 3 of those platforms. Thank you for joining me. It was a fun morning talking football for about 2 hours or so. 2 podcast episodes came out of this live stream. So if you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. Remember, subscribe, rate, like, share the podcast. Let's get it out to more people that like football. I like to talk about the football other people aren't really talking that much about. That's why I spend so much time talking South America and Mexico and even Major League Soccer. Okay, and when it kicks off, there will be talk about the Canadian Premier League as well. And our next episode will come out, I'm guessing, Friday. I'll go live Friday night, I'm assuming, and it's going to be a European themed show. We're going to talk about the Euro leagues, and I have a guest booked. So it'll most likely be me and a guest on Friday night talking about the different leagues in Europe as they're starting to crown their champions. Big matches this week, like I said, Liga MX playoffs midweek, Copa Libertadores, Copa Sudamericana all this week. Plus, you got the DFB Pokal final on Thursday. Okay. RB Leipzig versus Borussia Dortmund. I'm going to be paying close attention to that. And of course, there's league football from all over the world still to go. All right. Thank you for joining me. I will catch you next time here on Parking the Bus. This has been the Mr. Mike Agostinho signing off for the PTV Media Network. And I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching and listening.